Do you feel you're overspending the hours and effort needed to produce those product descriptions you need for your e-commerce platform? And if you're thinking they're not as good as you want them, despite all that effort, this podcast is for you. We're going to deep dive with our guest, Mikael, today in how to use generative AI to add that magic that would probably make the process and make it more efficient and give you more quality. I'm Magnus Oxenwaldt, and this is Future Bytes, where we discuss only three things: business, business, and business within the space of AI. So we are trying to deliver you the hype-free discussions and AI use case that you can use to transform your business today. Let's get started. As I mentioned, today we have an expert who's going to help us deep dive in this particular topic, knows everything about this and been doing this for a while. Mikael, welcome. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your background before you get into the details?
Thank you, Magnus. Yeah, I'm Mikael Bossel, and I work as a principal advisor at Columbus Digital Commerce in Stockholm. And my background is I worked with a lot of companies when it comes to manage product information and for marketing processes, or as a, let's say, background system for e-commerce, etc. And I've been working in a lot of different areas, the fashion industry, automotive, and technical companies. But I've seen that basically have struggles. Every company struggle with product content information management. So that's kind of a common thing I see in there.
So you're one of those Swiss Army knives, but today we're just going to deep dive into product descriptions, right?
Yeah, we will deep into that. There's so many areas actually to talk about, but especially with the product description, because it's some specific features of the product descriptions and about AI, for example. And I mean, if you're going to promote a product online, you have a lot of content on a product. Let's say attributes. You have width, color, and kind of a number of fields, example. But when you come to the product description, the description is a combination, and it often includes some of the features, saying this jacket is warm and have a protecting layer or something like that. So it includes many data. It could be like a specific kind of features with, etc. But it could also be how do you use this product, or what is the unique selling points of this product, etc. So the text, that is something that is very complex actually. And normally it's up to, let's say, product manager, either to compose this text or actually just grab it from a supplier where it comes from, and then maybe change the text. Because the company often have like, they have their own tone of voice. So when they sell this, they want to make sure the product description should be similar. And you should know that it comes from this specific company, for example. And so that is something they actually struggle with, because writing text is not that easy. First of all, this product manager, they are probably experts of the products. They know everything about the category they work in, but they might not be that super good copywriters. So, and also over time, I mean, you have different people working on the company. Maybe you change product manager for a category, etc. And this makes product text over your assortment vary a lot. And if you have a look at, you can basically take any e-commerce site and you read the product descriptions, you will see that they are quite different, even within the same category. There's a big difference of what features of the product is mentioned, how they write it, etc. So actually companies have, let's say, quality problems with this. And it's also very...
And that's a common problem. You're saying that's across the board. Most companies
Yeah,
have this challenge. Yeah.
yeah. At least if you have, let's say, quite many products. If you only have a few one, that's more easy. But and one of the problems is also that most companies I work with, they don't have a guideline saying this is the way we should write a product description. This is the things that we should mention. This is the tone of voice, etc. They don't have a guideline, which means that, yeah, of course, people do differently because you are different people.
Why do you think that is? Is it because they don't know they should have a guideline, or it is too much job to actually produce one?
It's too much job, I think. And anyway, you put the guideline in the hands of different people, it will anyway result in different text. And there is also time problem. It takes a lot of time, and you have to write quite many product text. For example, if a new season comes or something like that. So they don't have the time. And that makes basically the company is not scalable. So for example, if you include 1,000 new products, that will take a long time, or you need to hire someone. And if you don't have a guide for that, you will have other problems as well.
So what I'm hearing from you is that it's not only complex, it's hard to do. It takes a lot of time, and when they eventually do it anyway, the result isn't always that good, despite all the effort they put into this.
Yeah, I would say so. That's the challenges, but also that's where I think maybe AI is one of the potentials, and the biggest potential, because I mean, in basics, the AI, the language model, etc., are good at language. They could actually create text, and the thing is that if you using AI and you have set up your database properly, so you have all the attributes that describe the product, so AI have something to actually pick up, and you create a good prompt, and you include the tone of voice, and maybe ask the marketing department, what is our language? Do we have a dictionary for specific words to use? And you do that, let's say, foundation for AI, then you have the scalability. Because once that is set up, you can create how many text you like, and in very short time.
So they can reuse whatever data they already have in their master data systems or PIM systems or whatever they're called, and they just need to give access to that, AI access to that, and then you said prompt, and that is sort of a way to instruct the AI to behave in a specific way to give the information they want, and what you're saying is you can then use that to define it to fit the company's policies or brand and tone and voice is what you're saying, right?
Exactly. It's like a framework. You set up this guide, but not for a product manager, but for the AI. How should you write the text? What features should you include, etc., etc. And once you have done that, it is a little bit of a work, of course, and you need to fine tune it, etc. But once you have done it, you have a really good foundation to generate as many texts as you like. And we had an example for a company that actually uses a copywriter externally, and they paid like 400 Swedish kronas per description. And once they set it up, the token cost was less than 1 Swedish crown per description. So it's like a huge difference. And they could generate how often they like, and if they change the content of the products or something like that, they can regenerate the text again instantly. So
that
it's a
sounds.
huge...
Why aren't everyone doing this?
I think actually quite many are starting to investigate it, but yeah, and maybe not everyone has seen the possibilities. And the first thing is that you get scalability and you get the unification, and you can also work with the quality, making sure that the proper attribute is mentioned, etc. And that is just to, let's say, automate the situation what you have today. But what I see is that once you have this foundation, you can actually accelerate. You can do variants of the text. I mean, today they struggle to make one text of the product. But if that is like instant work, they can do variants, and they can do different descriptions for different target groups. So you can have one description of one product and I can have another one. So depending on the marketing, if they're different target groups, they could modify the text. Or they could, for example, if you have a generic product like a sport, like a jacket, for example, you can adopt the text for a season. So now it's winter, so you describe how it's perfect for winter or skiing, and in the spring you can use it again and say perfect for hiking. It's the same product, but you highlight different features, for example. So that's yeah.
How would the AI know how to word around a winter jacket compared to something else, or the seasonality of the description? Is that something that the AI can do for us? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you could. What you have to do is that if you have like one instruction, so you have set up what is the features of this jacket, you can say, you can highlight that this jacket is warm and so on, and use that for winter. And you can also say that the usage of this jacket is for skiing or other winter activities. And you put it into the AI, and the AI describe it from that scenario. And then you can just, if it's a new season, you can just change the parameter and say, highlight the, it's protected from rain and wind, and it's used for hiking, and it rewrites the text. And it works actually really well. We have done this for a couple of sports companies. And so
wow. We're not even half through the podcast, and what you told us that not only you get the efficiency because it does this so much faster. How much faster does it do this if you compare it to the traditional way of doing it? And when you introduce this and it's mature, you set it up, because you come in, you analyze the situation, right? And then you set it up and you start using it, and then it takes some cycles before they get warm. How much faster is it than the traditional way, give or take, would you say?
Yeah, I would say it's the difference is that if you take a person, that person could basically instantly start working. So you can slowly write your descriptions, and let's say that you write 2,000 characters or something like an A4 page with text in some time unit, and then you can just divide that with your number of products, and you will have a slowly scalable output. But when you use the AI, you need to prepare, set up the project, and you need actually to fine tune it. So it takes like 4 weeks before you get really good content out of it. So it's a start phase, but from that moment, it's just super fast. It's just the response time of the service you're using and something like that. So for example, we have...
And what you also told us is efficiency is not really the true enabler. You're also telling us you get an opportunity to do a lot more than just making it fast.
Yeah, I mean, efficiency is good because it's scalable, and if you got a lot of new products in, etc. So that's kind of a basic thing. But if you talk to like a marketeer, they want to say that you want a personalized content. You want to send out a mail, but the personalization today is only to pick what products they think that you are interested in. So you will have different products in your mail, and I will have some other difference. But with this, actually, we can also modify the text. So the description of the product will be different for you and for me. So it might appeal different target groups better. And
so when I come to the e-commerce side, depending who I'm at, who comes to the e-commerce site, the product description will look different on each visit, essentially. Yeah.
For example, so instead of just having one text for the product, it could be 10 texts for different purposes in the background, and you show the user the correct text. And you can also change the text, and because, for example, if you have an event, we did some experiments with running shoes before Stockholm Marathon. So this sport company then put a number of shoes that they think they want to market for Stockholm Marathon. And what we actually said that the uses of this shoe was for the marathon event. So we get text that was unique for this product, but just
It's
during
amazing.
this 2 weeks before the event. And
that's dynamic. It's so different from what traditional static descriptions are, right? It's very alive and direct. What about the people working on this? You mentioned there were product managers, right? Would they need to retrain to become something else, like content creators then, rather than product managers? What specific skills do you think future product manager handling this process would require? You mentioned models and tuning. Is that things they would like to, or is it a technical thing they don't need to be involved in? Or
I think they need, maybe not in the technical part, but I think the role for them will change. So instead of actually writing the text themselves, which is time consuming and like a bottleneck, we could use them to actually tell us what are the features for this product category that is worth mentioning in the text. And what is the unique selling points for this shoe compared to another shoe, etc. And that is knowledge they have, but we should have it, and we should use that to set up the models. So I think the role will shift, definitely, but it also makes them much scalable, and I don't think they are actually that happy about writing texts too much. So we can use them.
They rather spend their time doing something else, is what you're saying, focusing on the conversion rate optimization and things like that by using these tools.
Yeah, and for marketing, it would be a dream for them to have this. And they could also, I mean, today companies do like A/B testing. So what you do is they do 2 different layouts of the products or something like that, and see which one is more appealing. But they could also now A/B testing the texts and see what type of description is better than another type of description, for example. So they can fine-tune them and work and optimize the text to be better. And we had another customer that's selling, let's say, technical products, but they sell it in all Europe. And so the same product they sent to northern Sweden or to southern Italy, but the unique selling points of it are quite different, because in Italy you might prefer to tell it could be really good for cooling your home or some things like that, but in northern Sweden it's more of heating your home. So actually same product, but you have different things. And so we could change then the instruction. And the good part is also you don't need to translate it, because actually you generate text, but you generate it in different languages with different profiles.
Right. I see the advantage of that, because translating text is yet another step, right? You need to translate it, and then when you translate it, it's not always that good, right? You miss the target audience.
Yeah, translation is another area where companies have big pain and often big cost, because they don't normally do most of the translation themselves. And we've seen also a couple of companies now, we implemented translation, fully AI supported translation. And instead of getting the text back in, let's say, normally 1 to 2 days, it's 2 seconds. So it's super
Wow.
fast.
So
Yeah.
if a company now want to get started with this, right? What is the first step? Do they need to like call you, or what do you recommend? And can you just take us quickly through, you know, the first steps in the process to get going with this if they want to?
Yeah. We have like let's say a foundation for how to do this work. And the first part is to look into the data and see what data they have, etc. And also compare, let's say, the data fields they have on the product, actually values, and what is in the descriptions. Because sometimes actually the descriptions they had today include stuff, but they haven't really put it in the database. And so we do that a little bit. And then also, let's say there could be different type of categories that are very different. If you're a big company, you maybe sells shoes, and then you have some bicycles. It's completely different attributes and completely different text to write. So we start with that and also ask them basically, what are the content of the text that you want to have? What are the instructions? And we do it like in an agile way. It's quite easy to start. You can just take your a table with the attributes. You can put it in ChatGPT and say, hey, please generate a text, and you will have something. It's not necessarily perfect, but it's something. And as you start with instructions and fine-tuning and give it better and better input, the text will get better. And so that's kind of the work we do. So we normally do let's say a long pilot until we think it's good enough to.
And you have several use cases where they're still doing this with success. And if you were to just sneak peek into the future, how would this evolve? All this you mentioned now, you can do today, right? So what do you think about the future? What new enablers would change something? Would this evolve, or is this what we will have for the next period of time?
I think, first of all, I mean, the tools are updated constantly. And I mean, it changed between Google and OpenAI, etc. They compete with that.
So that's a requirement as well. You need to stay on top of that and you know, continue changing, or maybe not.
Yeah, our recommendation is not to tie into one of the platforms, but build it modular. So actually, from the PIM system, you can send it out to, let's say, a hub, and then you can connect to, let's say, Gemini. And then next month, you see that Microsoft is much better. Then you can redirect it and use that service instead. Or you can maybe have your own model. So that's one thing. You should build it so it's easy to connect to a new system. And another thing that I see is that if the company works with their data, so they actually improve the data, so it's useful for an AI to write text, they have another benefit, and that is when you connect a chatbot to the data. It's a huge difference of connecting a chatbot to existing, let's say, static product descriptions, or to data and models that are made for AI. You can have an online product expert that actually could understand the differences between two products and help you with recommendations.
But defining the product descriptions in the way you just explained is sort of the enabler for the chatbots, right? Because they need that metadata in order to have that conversation about the products.
Exactly. You get much better sort of rich and structured source information.
So you're halfway to a chatbot if you do this step first, and then you just adding on the layer of a chatbot, and then you can have a conversation with your products.
Yeah, I would say. And also when it comes to translation, since you don't have to do translation, you generate the text. So
That's
instead of
brilliant.
maybe having 2, 3 languages or 5,
Yeah.
why don't generate it in all languages?
Why not have a conversation in any language, right? Anyone can
Exactly.
buy your services. So it seems like a very small effort to allow everyone to be able to buy your products, right? Essentially.
Yeah, we actually tested the thing that you mentioned here. We speak or interact in English, but on
Yeah.
Swedish content with the chatbot, and it works fine. It gives you actually the instructions in Swedish when it comes to referring to buttons you should press or stuff like that, but it speaks in English, so it's really
That sounds
cool.
amazing. It sounds like a completely of its own podcast. So I think we need to deep dive in some of these topics, but time flies and we need to sort of wrap up. Any last things you really want to mention on this topic? If you were to take away one takeaway from today, what would that be for somebody to think of if they want to get started with this?
Oh, I think everyone needs to get started on it, because what it does is that it takes away a lot of effort and time from your daily work, and you can really use that for better things like evolving your product information or marketing, etc. So you buy time for creativity instead of copy and pasting.
That's a brilliant answer. It's not about if, it's when to get started. You need to get started, otherwise you fall behind. So let's wrap up for today. This has been a fascinating deep dive into the future of product information management. Really, this is it's not only the future, it's now. It's what people need to do now, not only to save time, but to get that extra magic on top of the product content creation process. And what really stands out for me isn't just about automation. It's about making sure that you can enable product information to the entire AI ecosystem with hyper personalization and all that. So let's get started with that as soon as possible. Thank you, Mikael, for sharing all the insights you have and the real world examples with us today. If you want to get contact with Mikael, he's working within Columbus in digital commerce. All the details will be in the description for this podcast. And thank you so much for attending today, Mikael. Love to have you on more podcasts. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. And if you found this valuable, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and we will bring you more information about how to fine-tune your product information in the future. So until next time, bye everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.